Looking forward to the second last game of the night. It should be the last clear-cut game. I probably should reference that more so than what number this game is coming in at. Xenox and Guz now join me on the desk. Guz, how's your day been? You know, have you felt like your casting went okay? I know we can be a bit critical of each other at times.
So, but no, it's been pretty chill, honestly, today. First game obviously was a bit of a banger. The second one, I was getting across the line, continuing their flawless run. Heading into this one, though, I think this is probably going to be the, I don't know how to frame this, messiest game of the day. It's going to be pretty brutal, I think. Two teams in the bottom four, battling it out, both having a pretty rough stage thus far, and it's actually becoming increasingly difficult to guess who's out on top heading into this one, in my opinion.
Really? Xenox, I would think that it would be a little bit more clear-cut than that, but I guess when we look at the standings overall, Fury are only but 3 points away from wildcard.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at that, and then I look at also the round differential, which is still -20 versus the -2 of wildcard. Despite wildcard, you know, obviously they haven't been able to get results over the last 3 play days. They're still in those games, so for them, 7-5, 7-4, and 7-5. And against actually good teams. So wildcard 7-5 loss against IG, 7-5 loss against the Chiefs, and 7-4 against Elevate. So against those top teams, yeah, maybe they're not on that level. They got rid of the Knights in Playday 1, and obviously the Knights have been able to sort of bounce back a little bit since then. But this is where now, to close out the stage for wildcard, they must get a good result against Fury tonight. Then they've got Direwolves, probably at least like another 7-4, 7-5, and I think they'll be happy with that. And then defeat Renatas. If you do that, that's like 9 points on the stage. That's pretty good. That's a bit of a pass mark. Keep the round differential in a good level. And I think for them, going into stage 2, it's good signs.
I kind of lost the track there. Are we talking about wildcard?
I was talking about wildcard.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's start talking about wildcard now.
There's not much to talk about with Fury. I'm sorry.
No,
but it's
fair. It's fair. I mean, we don't have to.
Harsh.
Look, our job is to be. Well, I mean, your job is to be analyst. My job is just to guide you in the show. And I do feel like we need to start giving some more critical points, because last year we were pretty fair to every team. But coming into 2022, we've got a lot more of an expectation around some of these teams, guys, and wildcards really haven't hit the mark like we'd hoped.
I'm actually, guys, sorry to butt in there, Jake.
What is going on, Rob?
I actually, to continue on from that point, I don't think we have set the expectation onto wildcard this age. They set it on themselves. The first play day from them, 7-2 against the Knights, they were looking so good, and we were like, wow, this is a revitalized, reborn wildcard. Let's see where they can go from here. But from that point onwards, they have tripped, stumbled, whatever you want to call it, fallen flat on their face, yet to get a win since then.
Yep.
And honestly, top 4 for them now is basically unobtainable. I don't think it's really realistic at all. And now it's for them to try and salvage at least a decent standing in this stage and build something, build a foundation, if you want to put it that way, heading into stage 2.
Scary thing for me is the conversation around wildcard. It feels very eerie, almost repeating the storyline we had in stage 2 of last year. Also, I think OJ just plays in space consistently. There's a void of nothingness behind him at all times. But Xenox, do you think that it would be fair to say, as we do start to look at these vetoes, that, you know, maybe wildcard are repeating their storyline of stage 2 last year, where we said, you know, we've got to give them time to build, we've got to give them time to grow as a team. Do you think that that is a similar trajectory, or do you think that this is a different beast?
No, I definitely think it's a different beast. Last year was a complete write-off. The shape of the team and what they had lost with Diesel and having to play with a manager for all of stage 1, and then Milo comes in, it was completely different. You know, you're coming into this year, you've won your promo relegation, so you're coming in at least with that good frame of mind. You've got new players in. Kyra is arguably almost your best player already, so he's come in. Yeah, I think they've, as I said before, they've just had a bit of a tough schedule to start with, arguably playing the best 4 teams you can play, really just about, besides maybe Direwolves. And now at least, you know, you play Fury now, and then you play Renatas and play day 7. So by the end of the stage, if they're on 9 points, I'd look at that as a bit of a pass mark. And then there's nothing wrong with that. We get Chalet in the map vetoes, which hard to really again say much about that as a map. We have seen Wildcard playing a little bit of it so far in recent times, and well, we've got the lovely new graphics. 68% defender win rate, though. That is a little bit staggering because previously in the past role, it's been more attacker-sided. So small sample size, of course, very, very small sample size, but still, it's a surprising one.
Yeah, look, 2 games is always, it's like the tipping point, right? The 3rd game really gives us a good overall picture, guys, but definitely the alarming stat here is the fact that it has turned so defender-sided. Do we expect to see that here between these 2 teams?
I mean, it's the first time I've seen them go head-to-head, so I don't really have too many assumptions as to how this map's going to play out. I just want to quickly loop back to the veto itself, though, and it was actually very aggressive from Wildcard. They banned out Oregon and Theme, the 2 most recent maps played by Fury. So I don't know if that's a good sign, a bad sign. Clearly quite aggressive in the sense that they don't want to play those maps, but it could also be interpreted as being defensive because maybe they're scared to play those maps, right? And they are maps that, looking back, it's not like they've been banning them against previous teams. The most of the time it's been banned against them. So just something to note.
Yep.
Chalet, of course, for both of these teams, I don't think it's going to be overly one-sided. Wildcard does have a bit of a track record on it in Stage 1 with a 1-1 record, so maybe a little bit concerning they lost it against the Chiefs, but we know Fury are nowhere near that standard, unfortunately for them. And so for Wildcard, I think they're still in the box seat to win.
Yeah, fair enough. 3 points on the line here. Both teams absolutely in need of those points. We're going to give it over to the wonderful casters, the capable hands of Devin Raven.
Thank you very much, Rob. Time to get back onto the casting desk for you and me, Raven. And look, let's be frank, nice on an early. This is probably the most cut and dried match of the night.
Look, it definitely, in terms of expectations, it feels like it should be. We've had a lot of track history to kind of back that up so far in Stage 1. Just unfortunately, Fury haven't been able to really bring the goods in a lot of their games. And Wildcard, they have a bit hit and miss. They've had some pretty close losses against some tough opponents, such as IG and Chiefs. And in particular in Chalet, they had a very close loss against Chiefs last week. So I think I'm really backing them in to take this.
Wildcard trying to prove that the comeback train, that their return to form for 2022 is not just a pipe dream. Fury battling to get their first point onto the standings for APAC South in the year. Now, the last time these 2 teams played, it was back in Stage 3 last year. Fury was under the name of Q-Confirm, and they defeated Wildcard on this very map in an overtime 8-6 matchup. So perhaps if we do look back in the history books a little bit, we can see that this has the potential to be a tight game.
Definitely does. So, look, I think it's definitely an opportunity for Fury here. I mean, we already saw an upset earlier tonight. You know, we felt like the Chiefs were going to back in that first game, but they didn't. And this is just another one of those opportunities. Fury could maybe have made some big learnings from their previous games. You know, they had some really good form last year. I know it's something we touched on a lot. They were a fairly good team last year, only 1 win away from like 2nd place basically for the entire season. So it just feels like it could be one of those things where it's a lull, just a dip. It's just something about them waiting to click, and then maybe a beast emerges. Who knows?
Couple bans coming through. Mira perhaps going to slip through. No, okay, never mind. Thatcher and Mav both managed to make their way through the veto as well. Look, I'm looking back at some of the recent matches that we have seen on Chalet. Of course, Fury was smacked silly 7-0, try and say that 10 times fast, by the Chiefs in their 2nd match of the season. And Wildcard have actually played their 2 most recent comp games on this map. One in APAC South that was also the Chiefs, but they've still got 5 rounds during that game compared to Fury's 0 against Chiefs. And also Wildcard defeated Ground Zero in the OCN 7-1. A really, really strong result, but admittedly against a much different caliber of team.
Yeah, and I think you can really draw a lot about Wildcard's current form from the match against Chiefs last week. You know, they looked fairly clean for a lot of that, honestly. It felt like it was one of their better matches for the stage. And it also, for me, just felt like it was a step forward in how their team has improved with this current roster. You know, they started to look like they were really gelling together with some really coordinated, synergized plays. They're having, you know, Cairo in particular, one of their newer players. He's really been showing up. He's still, in fact, their highest rated player. And even their 2nd highest rated is actually OJ, who's been hitting the hard support role, but he's had a couple of massive games for Wildcard.
It's exactly what you want to see, the 2 new players on the roster bringing the best stats and statistically just being such reliable performers. And I'm really excited to see what this new wildcard roster can bring with these two new players. I think particularly OJ, they're not just looking at him for fragging capability, quite the opposite. They want another voice on the team to assist Pat. Funnily enough, it is OJ who's repicked onto the Amaru here. And he's already in the building and found his first pick.
Yeah, really nice. Time management, swift play from OJ, of course, facilitated by the Amaru, but regardless, Dark just had no idea what was coming his way, and that's already the first opening kill in the hands of Wildcard. Now, look, Dark was the Jaeger player off on the roam. You know, sometimes you kind of, I wouldn't say bank on it, but you play to potentially lose that player. Maybe not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things, but certainly not the great start that you'd be looking for if you're Fury.
The thing that you're trying to do when you are the roamer is delay time at the very least. Even if you can't find a pick, you delay time. Wildcard dismissed that with ease. The Amaru is, I mean, time is her specialty. She uses just about none of it to get into the building really early. Dark would not have banked on OJ having such an advanced position early on. Of course, this is not the wine cellar snowmobile garage defense that it may look like from Cairo outside the breach here. This is in fact bar games, but Wildcard do have a lot of good top floor control. Oh no, OJ! Unfortunate lineup, takes down Milo while he sprays Hajime out of the game. That said, I mean, in theory, Wildcard still won the trade.
I did. OJ so cracked he had to take out his own teammate. He's on the 3K for the round. But no, look, this has already been a really good first 90 seconds here from Wildcard. Swift entries and getting those first couple of picks. So this is a lot of time to have this map control. And OJ is just on rails right here. He's going to continue all the way down through library stairs, start to put pressure on side as Pat has managed to find Mopey. And Pat has also found an opening to get this plant down. There's still a minute on the clock.
Excellent time management from Wildcard. Easy as you like. OJ is just running amok upstairs. Not quite finished off. Colas on the other side. Very difficult retake now for the two Fury players. They try to retake. Colas eventually falls. Spacehead looking for the refrag. OJ finally shut down. Not a lot of time left. Spacehead eventually traded back by Vinny. Wildcard have demonstrated some serious dominance in a very clean opening round.
Yeah, really great start. Honestly, they probably couldn't have hoped for a better start, to be honest, maybe besides the team kill, but it was always in the wildcard repertoire, so good to see that's come through to the newer players as well. But also what's good to see is OJ, one of the newer players, he's continuing some really good form, and I would say this isn't at least what we would have expected from OJ on the roles that he's been playing, and as the player we know him as, he's always played a lot more support-based roles, which is kind of what we've seen through Wildcard, but the fact that he's bringing some really solid firepower to the table at the same time, you can kind of just see how it's elevated Wildcard to a next step.
I think especially on a map like Chalet, you need players that are versatile, and I think that's what OJ has shown by picking onto the Amaru. Yeah, it's an entry operator, and it's one that you usually only use as a pocket pick to achieve a specific goal. He did that. It was perfect. You can already see now tons of repicks coming through from Wildcard. OJ actually going and being the secondary hard breach for his squad there. The Maverick going to help out a lot, but immediately that changes the entire round and what it looks like for him, right? Previously, Cairo was on the Mav. Now he's been given his Zafir license, and he'll have the LMG to ring and rain out terror over Fury. OJ assists with a much more conventional support role.
Yep, and again, just a fairly well-rounded lineup as well. So just some good general coordination from Wildcard, coordinating those picks during the prep phase, not prep phase. No, it is prep phase. Oh my God, what am I saying? Coordinating those picks.
Six pick, that's my joke.
Yeah, true. You can't get out of that pattern. Now, the point I was going to make is, just being able to coordinate that in between the rounds. Of course, you still have a bit of extra time, but it's really cool when you see an entire attacker repick and it comes out with a really good composition. It's not messy. I think it's a sign of a good team.
So for Wildcard, what is the go this time around? Are they going to go for a full top floor clear? Because previously, if you remember, OJ got in so early, it was really fairly cut and dried. Fury couldn't reaggress too much. It looks like most of the pressure for Wildcard is down in the basement. That player spotted out. Bob Wire cleared. OJ going to try and shoot the default camera through the floor. Very, very nice. May well also do the little Maverick trick where he opens the line in the back of stock. gets his teammates to spray on through.
It's a really good cut of the map that's now set up by WILDCARD as well. They can cut the lower rotate. Got Vinny on the top double window in through library, so that Mez player can't really retake that position either. So it does start to kind of isolate the Fury players just a touch more. And again, first 90 seconds in, already good progress, but that was a bit of an oversight there from WILDCARD.
That's really, really good vertical play, though, from Hajime. He opened the perfect angle to go and hard counter that cheeky little trick that Maverick players like to do. That opens up that line and exposes the player in stock. Now, Vinny trying to clear out that stock player through another method. It's with a grenade, but it doesn't do all that much at this juncture. WILDCARD still left with a lot of questions and a couple of second guessing of the plans that they're going to have to do now. They're going to have to figure out what is our new strat now that the Maverick is out.
Yeah, and such a nice little position too that the Maverick was going for, OJ was going for there. You open that line of sight in through to the storage room, and it really cuts that rotate. Now, Cairo, if he finds a pick in through bar, it's going to help facilitate something here for WILDCARD. It is a 4 versus 4, but they don't quite have the control they would have liked as we come into this last 30 seconds, which means that getting in for the plant could be quite tricky.
But Vinny's managed to jump straight into the library window, assisted by the drone. Like Cole is down, but not out. The round opened up for WILDCARD. 15 seconds left, but thankfully Dark gets traded. It is all on Spacehead now for the defense, but Cairo and Milo have got to hold on. Spacehead in the crossfire, finished off. The plant was not down. WILDCARD had to find this pick, and okay, so I guess Spacehead was killed so hard that he got shot through a hard wall.
I think that was kill cam just going hard on the wrong player, I guess. But anyway, look, good round.
He phased through a wall, didn't he? Like
something like that. Look, another good round from WILDCARD. I think even more important there was they didn't quite have like the control, the presence that we saw from them in the first round, and even then they were able to adapt and just purely, through coordination and fragging power, just really dominate Fury in that final position. And what felt like an advantageous spot for Fury to be able to potentially take that round, it just slipped away within, it was about 10 seconds there.
I really like that from WILDCARD. Even just little things like when Vinny jumped into library, like that's usually a position where you are never able to jump in because there's always a player in stock who's watching up through the hatch. And you're in a crossfire from a player at mezzanine. But when WILDCARD has another player droning it out and just sees that for a split moment, that angle is not being washed, Vinny takes up that free map control and it opens up the round for WILDCARD, assisted by everyone else springing into action. Fury have now lost that bar games room defense twice in a row. And now, with a lot of questions, more questions than answers, going to change up their bomb site choice and instead now go to Master Office.
I think it's a good call as well because, bar gaming really wasn't working out. And Master Office is a site that played very commonly and generally quite successful. If I dive back into the stats here, it has the 67% defense win rate for Chalet so far in APAC South. It's based on 2 plays before this evening. And in fact, bar gaming actually has the lowest defense win rate. So I think definitely a good call from Fury to rotate.
Very interesting. WILDCARD have taken some map control downstairs. Ooh, I like this. Nading off the castle barricade. That would have killed anyone very close. Said, the lack of sledge does force WILDCARD to expend some of their explosive utility to clear off these castle barricades. Otherwise, they could knife them. It's what they change it to 9 melee attacks now will clear a castle barricade, I believe. It's no longer 12, it used to be. So that's, it's just dangerous, isn't it? You sit there, knifing away that castle barricade. Better to use the explosives. That said, WILDCARD have to make sure because they've only got a couple left remaining.
Yeah, but they've kind of done everything they really need to do at this stage. There's a little bit more control that they could get to try and set up for this execute, but a lot of the really important steps for this attack have now been achieved. They've opened up that wall in towards the top of mezzanine. They've opened themselves up to be able to push through for the default plant. And now it's really just this piano player and the player hanging out around office that they need to kind of deal with. They need to flush them out. so that they can actually go for this execute. And they've still got plenty of time with a minute on the clock.
And that piano player is really feeling the pressure. It's dark here. His ADS was zapped off by Kairo's Twitch, and now he's extra vulnerable to the nades. He's so scared. Even though he has this shield to protect him, who knows how long that will last. Pat starts to move on in. So much time left on the clock. No need to rush this for Wildcard, but they start this execute. The smoke is just far too little, far too late. And Wildcard, with 40 seconds spare, managed to get that diffuser planted. That said, Fury come to life with a couple kills of their own. They now have the man advantage. Pat goes down. A 2v4 now. Cairo makes it play. He makes the move, and he makes some money. Play. One player left on Fury. It's the flanker of Hajime. Caught between the two Wildcard attackers in the post plant. What is he going to be able to do? Cairo still alive and ever so deadly. Holding in piano, and it's just a matter of time. There is absolutely no shot for Hajime. What a post plant from Wildcard. What a play from Cairo.
Even just getting into that plant position, really good droning and reading of the defensive positions of Fury. Pat realized he could sneak in, and that piano player didn't have the line of sight to deny that angle, and there was no office player there ready to deny either. So just walk in and plant, and that's what they did. And even though it was a very hectic little 5 versus 5 post-plant situation, it was, really well played from Wildcard, really well played from Cairo, tanking that Surya gate to be able to enable that 3K. It was, really well executed from Wildcard.
Cairo is certainly earning a salary at the minute. 5 kills, 0 deaths. The only player on Wildcard yet to fall, the only player in the server yet to fall. And, unfortunately, on the other side of the coin, 2 Fury players like Hollis and Mopey haven't even found themselves on that scoreboard yet with a kill. Fury continuing to struggle on their defenses here of Chalet, which admittedly, Chalet is typically an attacker-sided map. But 0 for 3, and now trying another different bomb site. It's looking grim for Fury, as it has all season so far.
That it has. And look, only 3 rounds in. Again, never really want to write a team off. They could summon something, but at a 68% overall defense win rate for the map so far this stage, these are the rounds they need to be winning. They need to be banking these ones in on Chalet, ready for when they rotate to their attack half. Because on top of all, if the map is leaning defender-sided, if you're a team that's struggling, it's generally going to be most exposed on the attack side, right? That's where the most coordination is generally needed. So yeah, these are really important rounds for Fury to try and fight back. And if they can get a 3-3 half, it's certainly still a very winnable position.
Milo on the double window now. Man, he has so many angles available to him. Such a valuable position, but he's also quite exposed. So he has to be extra careful. Not only vulnerable to a run out from Trench, but I mean, there's a really nice C4 that we used to see Wildcard do, actually. It was Emo in. He would always go for those cheeky runouts, or rather the C4s up through a hole in the floor in kitchen, and it would kill the player on big window. But for now, you can see how wary Wildcard are being of over-aggression. They're taking these advanced positions and then just slowing it down and punishing any attempted plays from Fury.
Almost 90 seconds in as well, and still no opening kill or opening death. I think that's really important for Fury, is to try and hold on to at least an equal man count for as long as possible. But unfortunately, Mopey, the smoke player, he's going to go down. Has been a trade, go back and forth, and suddenly 4 versus 3 in favor of Wildcard. And now they've been able to start to really put the pressure onto these site players.
And it did the players upstairs as well. The Fury, like Hollis, dancing with death, wall banged out by Cairo, 6-0. 2 guys left on for Fury. Dark and Spacehead and, well, Wildcard. This is not the old Wildcard. Like, every round, they have been on such good timing. That said, Cairo finally learns what it means to lose his life in this match so far. Spacehead, oh my god, they all line up. Vinny falls as well. A 2v4? What on earth? When does that happen? Whenever does that happen?
Look, really good for Fury to fight that one back. Spacehead just at the right position at the right time. Caught a couple players there from Wildcard, completely guessing where they were being shot from. nicely held angle, catching them before they could see him. And yeah, look, just like that, that space had 4K. Really flipped things on its head. You know, WILDCARD had that man advantage, I should say. It felt like they were just about to progress as they had been in the previous rounds for that plant, but no, really good reversal there from Fury.
Yeah, a bit of a scary one for WILDCARD. Letting that slip. WILDCARD had a history of when they do lose, a lot of the time these days, it's due to like a really critical mistake. And it's the kind of thing people say, oh, what a throw, you know, they had such a big advantage. I mean, WILDCARD, that is, if anything, their weakness. You know, they struggled closing out games sometimes. Was it their Chiefs game, I think it was? I can't remember. There was one match so far this stage where they had a match point, or they had a big, I think they were up 5.
IG. That was against IG. Yep.
Was it 5-1 or 5-2 they had?
It was something pretty big. It was definitely 5-1 or 5-2.
And then they ended up not winning another round for the entire match. And I think that kind of summarizes, you know, WILDCARD in their current form, they're eliminating a lot of their weaknesses. But if there is one that still persists, it is absolutely their difficulties with maintaining advantages and letting single tiny critical mistakes become avalanches.
That being said, though, I feel like more than ever, I kind of have faith in this current 5 to probably be able to push past that issue once they really start to work and play together a lot more. I mean, I think it's really important to remember this is just their first stage as this 5, you know, bringing 2 players into a system. It does change things quite a bit. You know, it's actually a significant change. And look, you might be able to put them under the same roles as previous players or whatever, but all players play different one way or another in different ways. So I think once the synergy gets grinded in for WILDCARD, I feel like they'll be able to get past those kinds of issues. But I think what's really important is they need to continue to win this game, right? Again, this is the other thing we kind of spoke about a bit earlier. If you're a team that's vying for a top 4 finish, you've got to win the matches that you're expected to win.
And absolutely, if there's any match that anyone in APAC South expects to win right now, as harsh as it sounds, it is their matches against Fury. Fury has not got a single point on the board so far all stage long. Despite being a consistent 5th place contender every single stage last year and the overall 2021 standings, Fury was just 1 place out of a playoffs position, 5th every single time. And I mean, that has well and truly changed at the start of 2022. For the only team that it returns to APAC South with the same 5 players on their roster.
And now this is a critical step here. You can see a lot of WILDCARD players stacked up, pretty much ready for this execute again. This is basically what we saw last time, right? Pat went in around the minute mark, got that plant down, and we saw a 5v5 post-plant situation. Mopey this time around is doing a really great job smoking these out. He's delaying this next step from WILDCARD, and it means that Fury can start to get ready to try and counter that final kind of 40 seconds. You can see here that Mopey has used all his toxic babes now, so that's the extent of the delay at this stage. WILDCARD are pretty much ready to start to go in for this.
That said, this is quite a fair shot slower than WILDCARD's previous attacks, and now that Cairo's gone down, that's the big hitter for WILDCARD eliminated. Nan disadvantage and only furthered now with Mopey and Lycolis coming to life. Finally, some trades back. WILDCARD has some picks on the board, but it's a 2-on-3 with 19 seconds, with no diffuser, with just OJ and Molluska to step up. Milo finds the header Spacehead. Now with that diffuser, tries to get the plant down, but Lycolis has got the plant denial. OJ has about 3 seconds to find 2 picks, and he can't even find the first one. Fury have come back from an 0-3 deficit to potentially evening up this half.
That's what I was kind of saying as well when we were at the 3-0 stage, you know, that the 3-0 comeback, it was definitely possible for Fury to push this to a 3-3 half, and that it would definitely still be a winnable position. These rounds are starting to progressively get better from Fury. In particular, in that round, I really felt that Mopey did a great job on the smoke. It's something that was lacking in the first attempt of the office site, where we saw WILDCARD just sneak in and get that plant down, was back in round 3. It was just, there was no toxic babes to repel that. But this time around, you had that delay, and it meant that WILDCARD had 30 seconds left to try and get that plant down. And in that moment, Fury had better positioning, and they were ready for those gunfights.
But are Fury going to be ready for a Snowmobile Wine defense? I haven't played it in the 5 rounds so far. In fact, they were insistent on sticking bar in games. The very first time they defended it unsuccessfully, retried and defended it unsuccessfully again. They even went back to Master Office for a second time before trying Snowmobile and Wine. Well, Kitchen and Dining is now locked. Master Office is now locked. Fury could have gone back to bar games. They've already lost twice before, but instead decide to go to the basement. A bomb site, which, I mean, I'm not a big fan of. I think that it has some huge glaring weaknesses, especially with attacker repick, which we're seeing come into the fruition here, right? 3 hard breaches for Wildcard. They can get anything they want breached on this bomb site.
Yeah, it's the beauty of attacker repick, right? You should be prepared for stuff like this, because as soon as you get the info, you just quickly coordinate your composition and you're set to go. And look at this Wildcard, wasting no time at all, getting in there with the drones, checking out what's on the wall, what do they have to deal with. It is an Electric Claw, or it is a Kaid with an Electric Claw that they'll have to consider. But that's it for Wall Denial. And there it is. It's just going to go straight open, first 30 seconds, and that's already going to apply quite a bit of pressure in through the Snowmobile site.
To be honest, with this much hard breach, the main way that I can see Fury win this is if they have an impactful roam. And we've seen it before. When Wildcard played Chiefs on this map, that was the thing they really struggled with. Bouncin and Worthy were running amok around Dining, Kitchen, even on the top floor. So Wildcard need to make sure that they don't neglect these Fury players on their own. We can see one at the moment, I believe, in Dining. And if they don't clear out these players, then it doesn't matter how many avenues they have onto site. They're going to have to constantly be watching for their flanks.
Yeah, I think that is the only roam play for Fury. Maybe one more offsite. Couldn't quite see where it was, but regardless, Cairo just got absolutely deleted by this C4 from Mopey. And that is one layer of hard breach gone for Wildcard, but lucky for them, Pat still had one exothermic charge left in the pocket, and they do still have OJ as a last resort, but it's not needed. They've been able to get that main wine cellar wall open, and now OJ can work to either trick this or even just get a line of sight in towards that kind of deep position in wine cellar.
I mean, this is a fantastic line of sight or an opportunity to nade if OJ goes for it. Nade is absolutely, like, he still has one in pocket. Vinny gets like Colas, a trade out. There's still just over a minute on the board. Milo's dedicated to flank watch, but with a numbers disadvantage, now evened up. It's going to be difficult. Like, Milo can't stay there the whole round, and you've got a strong set of positions on site for Fury to hold.
And still so much time as well. 50 seconds at this stage of the attack is plenty of time for Wildcard. And even better when Vinny hits those coconuts and the shot to back it up. 40 seconds to go, all on Dark's shoulders. He drops to his death. OJ there to catch that one, and Wildcard managed to push forward with that 4-2 half.
What a showing of excellence from the man in the center of your screens right now. Vinny, a 4K, Knight and Ace. Stepping it up hugely for Wildcard. Believe it or not, one of the longest running members of this roster now alongside Pat. And Wildcard have a strong half at the end of it. Not as strong as perhaps we originally thought it may have been from the 3-0 lead, but a 4-2 is still a win in the half nonetheless.
Yeah, and look, I think that was an okay half from Fury in the end. They really did save it in rounds 4 and 5. And I don't blame them for going for Snow Wine in that last site. You mentioned, you know, they already tried bar games twice at the start. Didn't work out. Wildcard looked great, both of those attacks. So may as well try Snow Wine. But yes, unfortunately, Wildcard, really good attack, honestly. Like, let's not cut it any different ways. Wildcard, super proficient in that. They opened everything they needed to. They progressed, gave themselves a whole minute to pressure the site players. And you just saw they just dropped like flies.
And I'd say overall, like, this is a big improvement for Wildcard. When they played against the Chiefs, of their 6 attack rounds, they only won 2 of them. So contrary to what we would usually think about Chalet being an attacker-sided map, Wildcard absolutely struggled there. And if Wildcard struggled on attack, then I don't even have words for what happened with Fury against the Chiefs. They went 0-6 on their attacking half and then lost their first defense. So Fury really have to step up now. Believe it or not, we have not seen Fury win an attacking round on Chalet. I mean, all stage long, all season long, if you will, of the one time that they have played the map, the 6 attempts have a 0% attack win rate. Time to try and change that.
I think things have progressively gotten a little bit better for them. So I believe they can get some rounds here on this attack half. And also, look, the pressure's on Wildcard. They've got to back up how they just performed on their attack half. They've got to set in on these defenses. And they are, I get to play back into that storyline. They're expected to win this, right? And that can put some kind of pressure on you. But first minute in, already some nice early progress down below. Now Mopey is in a great position to find the opening pick, but he moves just at the wrong time there, not catching the player on the peak. And unfortunately,
OJ.
there's a trade to come out, and that's a bit unfortunate for Fury as they were in a really good position.
I mean, that was overall, I'd say OJ would be happy with that, but ever since then, it's all gone chaotic. Dark found a double kill somewhere, and I'm gonna be real with you right now. I think 4 kills just went out, and I could probably tell you where 1 or 2 of them happened. That was absolute unfiltered chaos. And Fury can be pretty happy with the result, to be honest. Like, they have some decent utils still left. Hard breach is there if they want it. Still some flashes, some smokes. The main weakness for Fury is they've just lost all of their explosives, all of the nades.
Yeah, it's definitely going to make it a bit tougher, but it's still a decent lineup remaining. You know, they can still get quite a bit done. I guess it's just more about how can they coordinate at this stage. Seeing lots of yellow pings coming out, so the drones are in good positions, or the drones are coming out and getting some good info. And if they can act early here and get themselves that man advantage, I think they're going to give themselves a pretty good shot to be able to maybe get in for a plant position.
Hajime starts to move on forward. If he lands this headshot on the player on blue, it could be huge. That F2 has a lot of recoil when you're trying to thread the needle, though. And Cairo starts to move up as well. Relocate his position, less predictable. Hajime, take 2 with the F2. He finds Vinny. On for the reload. Cairo searching for that refrag. Cairo, no! He can't get it. And to close it, it is Dark who steps it up. His 3rd kill of the round with Buck Black Ice. And Fury have got to be happy. They have gotten back on the horse.
Yeah, look, that was good. I think they got some really good early positioning. Unlucky to not even just get like a clean opening kill, though Mopey was definitely in position to get so. But I think a really great sign was regardless, they were able to continue to like trade with Wildcard. They never let themselves get into a bad position. They traded, and then they didn't lose their heads. You know, they got into really good positioning, and it was a really great maneuver in through sight with the Twitch player. It was Hajime, and he got a couple of really big picks. And look, I just think in general, a really decent round from Fury on that attack.
Yeah, I got to say, I'm surprised and impressed both. I think Fury have already exceeded my expectations in this match, which is funny. They've got 3 rounds, but just matching pace with Wildcard is what they've managed to do so far. And yeah, I got to say, like, if I'm Wildcard, I'm scaring right now. I think one of the things that Wildcard have failed to do that Chiefs did so well against Fury is that Chiefs just battered Fury, put them in their place, and made them stick in their shell. Now, let's remember that when Wildcard played against Chiefs, they actually played really well. Like, Wildcard nearly beat Chiefs. Chiefs just stepped up and made a really strong late sprint to the finish line that Wildcard couldn't keep up with. But Fury got utterly demolished by Chiefs. And I really thought that the difference between how these 2 teams played on this very map against that same team, we would have seen Wildcard be favored here. But Fury have already looked better than probably we've seen them all season.
Yeah, it's starting to feel like the last couple of days, play days, things have clicked just a little bit more for Fury. Now, of course, they're not playing, you know, perfect top 4 level Siege, but it's getting better. And Hajime, unfortunately, I feel like I've jinxed him almost by saying it's getting better. He's really whiffed on Cairo. Should have been an opening kill and their advantage, and it's just continued to fall. Cairo's picked up another onto Mopey. He has been downed in the process, but that opening phase, that was a bit rough for Fury there.
Yeah, look, I think Cairo had a couple of dry rounds and he decided to step up. That said, if Cairo can be finished, this is a 3-on-3. So it's not time to pop the champagne just yet for Wildcard. I don't think Cairo's in a position to get res. I think he's now been droned as well, so he should be a dead man. This is winnable now for Fury. Still some hard breach as well. In fact, all the hard breach that they had even considered bringing is still intact. And some good fraggers, some good nades, some flashes. Like, all the pieces of the puzzle are there.
Definitely are. Cairo
Oh,
just got revived. Yep. So that's going to help. And look, he's already having a good game for Wildcard as well. So his impact will certainly be felt. But it's still a very manageable man advantage, or man disadvantage, I should say, for Fury. And look, they've made some decent progress. They're giving themselves some time here. Similar to Wildcard and when we saw them attack this site, you know, they're getting the right walls open and giving themselves quite a lot of time to be able to work these site players.
A nade comes through. Does that find the shield at least? Surely it does. Pat, slightly more exposed than he was before, but still has a great operator to play this position with the smoke. And the gas provides a toxic screen from which Fury will have to push.
So close there. Thought Milo might have lost his life to the Roma, but not just yet. But that certainly could be a linchpin. 30 seconds in.
Dark.
Fury go deep. This is a huge play. This could be something that wins them the round.
That skeleton key may have unlocked some serious potential for Fury. Vinny now really feeling the pressure. Milo, he has a flank and he has a chance to win the round for wildcard. Vinny's got to hold on though, and look at him. He's really feeling that pressure like Colas doubles down. Milo on for the flank. Diffuser cold on the ground, and he is the last man standing. He might well go for a jog outside. The time has to fall. It has to tick down. Fury cannot get their hands on the diffuser. They go chasing. They find nothing. Wildcard, a close encounter, but they go up 5 rounds to 3. Just 1 round from match point.
Very close indeed. Look, again, it was a fairly decent attack from Fury in the end. Milo just playing that one really smart. And look, I was clenching. I felt like they had to have been so close to him in that last second. I reckon actually 1 second more, and Fury might have been able to track him down and actually trade that one for the round win. But not to be. Look, I think there's still a lot of positives here for Fury. That was decent. They were certainly in a winning position. Just didn't go their way that time around. But wildcard, time to kick it up a notch. Feels like Fury are having a really good crack at these attacks. And I feel like if wildcard aren't careful, this could certainly be another one of those comeback scenarios that we've seen from wildcard in these last couple of play days, where their advantages just get whittled away.
Absolutely. It's proving to be a trend for wildcard, isn't it? They struggle to close games. I don't know whether it's a mental thing. I don't know whether it's... I mean, you can't even say it's something about being on defense, because they actually got more rounds than they have so far here when on defense when they played against the Chiefs, right? Like, that's just crazy to me. Wildcard went 3-3 for their defenses on Chalet against Chiefs. And they're struggling to keep pace now with Fury on their own defenses.
Yeah, look, could be a multitude of things. Like they might have had a really, really good day against Chiefs. On top of that, I definitely would say Fury is playing better than we've seen them play a lot in this stage. So I think it's definitely that combination. But regardless, this is just it's a time for wildcard to step it up. Got to be considering themselves a top 4 chance for the year, if not for this stage. So they've got to be winning these games, but also for Fury, they've got to try and ride some momentum here. Like, they're really in these rounds. I feel like, I was about to say if they win an opening engagement, I feel like I'm going to curse these teams constantly. But unfortunately, Hajime has lost that opening engagement.
It's funny, OJ's been in a lot of these opening engagements. He's won 3 of them and lost 2 of them so far. That's, more than half of the opening engagements we've had so far in the match that he's been involved in. So perhaps he's not quite as much on the back line as we initially thought. I will say, though, historically, back when Fury were under Q-Confirm, these teams played 3 times last year. And, Q-Confirm got the better of wildcard 2 out of those 3 times. So, in a way, this would be a bit of an upset, a bit of revenge if wildcard can get the better of Fury here.
90 seconds in. Fury still hunting to kind of equalize that man count. Wildcard also playing it quite patient. That's something else that's been pretty consistent with their defenses. They're not giving up any free picks for Fury. They're making them work for it. But they are getting them. Now, still a lot of map control given to Wildcard as well. I think it was Milo still playing around that mezzanine as the Wamai. He's got 1 magnet in the pocket. I think he's about to get another. Yep, ticks up to 2. So going to be even harder to kind of flush out with those throwables.
Yeah, Fury really need to get a move on here. It's very unclear what their play is. Very unclear whether they're going to be able to flush out these core positions. Like you said, Milo's got so much util protecting him. It may come down to a desperate gunfight, and you've got to back in wildcard, especially with the man advantage.
Yep, 40 seconds to go. Milo looking away just at the wrong time there. Could have had the opening shot onto this player at the double window. But at least for Milo, it's not his prerogative to make that engagement. It's really on the backs of Fury to progress this along. You see OJ going for a big run now in through Master. This could be something that hurts Fury, but they've got 20 seconds to make something happen.
Now or never, Fury, you got to give it a crack. OJ on for the flank and may well stab you in the back. Just 4 players left and they begin to fall. Wildcard hold down the line and are searching for that match point, barreling towards it. Molosca to claim the final kill. And Wildcard have match point 6-3 over Fury.
Okay, it was a really good round from Wildcard, honestly, completely. Like, they just played very patient. They got an opening pick. They held back, and they really just gave Fury nothing. And then just a really well-timed run from OJ to be able to get around to that flank position. Look, he only got 1 kill from it, but regardless, it was really when things needed to start happening for Fury. It always creates chaos when you suddenly get flanked. You're trying to communicate that to your teammates at the same time. You're trying to coordinate like a plant or some kind of chaotic rush through site to get those final picks. It's just overall was just really well timed and coordinated from Wildcard. And yeah, look, unfortunately for Fury, it looked like they had a shot in this or a shoe in the door, but Wildcard have just shot out to suddenly a 3-round deficit. They're on match point here. It's going to be a bit tough to stop them at this point.
Fury, I mean, the fact that they won their first bar games attack just gives me a little bit of hope. Like, we might not be done yet. And I'm not just saying that because I want this to be a tight game. Yeah, we came in expecting this to be a bit of a roll. Fury haven't found a point yet, and it didn't really seem like Wildcard was going to be the team to change that. But Fury have impressed me. Even though they've only found 3 rounds, it was a pleasant surprise to see those 3 rounds and how tight a lot of these wildcard rounds have been as well, right, Raven? Like, wildcard have won a lot of these in 1vx's and really tight, 2v2s. Wildcard even lost, I believe it was a 5v2 or a 4v2. So they are by no means, the far and away better team in every round here.
Definitely not. Has kind of been a little bit closer than what it feels like the scoreboard has led on. But at the end of the day, wildcard certainly have had that upper hand. And here comes the run out from Pyro. Nice. It's been read beautifully by Lycolis. Not sure whether that was just info, game sense, sound, combination of all of the above. But either way, that is going to be, yes, nice for Lycolis to bank in that opening kill, give Fury that early advantage. On top of that, it's against Cairo, who's been a really informed player for wildcard, not just in this game, but for the entire stage.
Yeah, Cairo he started this game monstrously. I think it was his 6-0, I believe, early on, 5-0 at least. But then, since then, his deaths have really caught up with him. He has had 3 opening deaths now, which is outweighing his opening kills. Still a great player, but if anything, I think Fury are just happy that they're starting to shut him down a lot better.
Definitely not somebody you want to kind of wreak havoc against your roster, but unfortunately, Milo is now to step up and trade out Cairo's death, making away Dark. Vinny's been downed by really sharp shots there from Spacehead as Moby's combined as well to pick up Milo, and this is looking good for Fury to salvage something in this game, try and push things towards OT.
Won't take long before they finish off Vinny. There it is. Now an attempted refrag. Hajime has heard it. Absolutely, yes, he has. But Pat does lose his life. OJ found one up through the hatch. Now a 1v3. A tough position to be in for any player, much less a smoke player. FMG, though, is the gun you want for it. SMG-11 as well, but Spacehead has the angle. And Fury, a fairly cut and dried round for them. A very, very easy one. And they're only trailing 2 rounds behind of Wildcard.
Getting that opening kill, it never really looked back at that stage. Fury did a good job securing that for one, but also just backing it up. They didn't slow down. They really pushed with pace against Wildcard. They cleared out that top floor roam really effectively, essentially netted them 3 kills. So then it was just the remaining 2 players to handle. So overall, again, really good from Fury. They're starting to read Wildcard fairly well and adapting to the situations at hand. I think you could always argue maybe Cairo was a little unnecessary to go for that run out, but it's also not uncommon to go for that run out, right? It's a very vulnerable position to be on that rappel.
Yeah, it is. But it goes to show that Fury are reading into Wildcard, right? Like you've been saying. And that's good because I think, if anything, like the difference between the Fury that we've seen this year and the Fury that we saw last year is they've looked really rattled. You think about the 7-0 against Chiefs. Like that was not the Q confirmed that we knew last year. That's not there's like the same 5 players, I mean, except for Mopey, of course, who's just filling in for Producer Boom. This isn't, as far as what we've been told, this isn't an actual proper roster change. This is Fury playing with a sub, which, if anything, perhaps makes their effort in this match and their other matches even more commendable. But they just haven't quite hit the stride that they demonstrated last year. They've looked rattled. And so the fact that they are now reading into some of WildCard's plays is refreshing.
Yeah, especially look if with Mopey subbing in, of course, like it's even more impressive. And on top of that, feels like Playday to Playday, they have started to just, you know, really gel together just a touch more. Look, it's not quick improvement, but it's certainly something. And I would still count them in this game. You know, it's only 2 rounds. 2 rounds on Chalet attack, certainly not impossible. And they've really been taking it to Wildcard so far.
Absolutely have. Now, Wildcard go down to Snowmobile Wine Cellar, and it's a full roam clear for Fury, who do have the ability to tear up the site from above once they clear this roam. They've got the buck for the vertical game, which completely changes the situation on this basement defense. Once you have Vert and you've got some hard breach, Fury have both, plus a Thatcher to enable all kinds of other shenanigans as well. Wildcard haven't seen much of their roam so far, but I do believe there is some outlines, some silhouettes over towards Master, towards Kitchen, and danger present over there if Fury aren't careful.
Definitely so. And also as we get through the halfway point, still having a 5 versus 5 situation.
Ooh.
Certainly going to be a little bit challenging. Dark, yeah, definitely close to seeing some players there through Wine Cellar, and there is a player flanking all the way up through Master at this stage. So certainly hope that Fury have their drones set up properly and keeping an eye on them, because otherwise it's going to be challenging. And look, question answered. Dark shuts down Milo. That is the flanking player. And it's Fury once again finding that opening kill.
Honestly, this is scary for Wildcard. They seem to have invested very heavily into this roam, not reinforcing that connector hatch. Just enabled Fury to really open up the round, open up the site. They've had such good time management. Wildcard really need to show me something impressive here. Otherwise, I just can't see them winning this round. We're going to head towards match point for Fury, potentially overtime. Wildcard can't let this slip.
Certainly can't. It's going to be a very critical time period here as well. Fury are going to have to get themselves ready for this execute, and that they are. Hejime is in. He is going to get this plant down. Feels like this is going to be confirmed. Cairo tries to fight back. He gets Dark, but that is it. Plant down.
No.
Post-plant situation.
Cairo couldn't stay alive above. Spacehead taken down. 3v3 in for the post-plant. Wildcard have that match point. They don't want it to let it slip to overtime. Oh no, the angle. It wasn't there for Vinny. He couldn't land it. OJ can't refrag either. And with that, it's going to be so difficult. A 1v2, 20 seconds left. And he starts to bait out this diffuser. Does he stick it? Fury, are you going to deny it? Oh my God. They left it a little bit late there. Fury goes out the round. And we're heading to full regulation.
Yeah, really good job from Fury once again. Look, they're doing a really good job at reading what Wildcard's throwing at them. They had a really good shutdown of the flank above. And they had a really good read on site. You know, they still had about 40 seconds, I believe, when that plant started to go down. But they knew they had it. They read into that situation. They got in. And once you force post-plant, it's a much more winnable and comfortable position for you on the attack for sure. So I think full credit to Fury there. And this is pretty big. They could push this to OT with Wildcard, 1 round away. Wildcard calling an attack timeout. I think great timing.
Absolutely. After 2 rounds in a row against the team in the league that hasn't found a single point on the standings. And, well, if Fury win this next round, then they will get their very first point on the standings. Wildcard have a lot of questions that they're going to need to answer during this tactical pause. Why have they struggled so much to defend here on Chalet? Now, yes, typically an attacker-sided map, but they didn't demonstrate that when they played against the Chiefs, did they? And Fury certainly didn't have anywhere near as much firepower on their attacks when they versed the Chiefs either. 0 and 6. Now potentially looking for a 4-2 split on their side. They are a completely new team, Fury, compared to what we've seen in previous playdays.
Definitely. And look, if they force us to OT, it's pretty big. We're their first point in general, for one thing, but also really challenging a wildcard roster that have probably higher expectations on them right now. So this is a really crucial step for both teams, obviously, but I'd say almost more so for wildcard. They're certainly the ones in a better position, at least, poised for a playoff berth. And if they let this go to OT, it certainly could affect their chances.
That's it. I mean, I don't know mathematically whether it's possible, but I'm just going to say Fury ain't making playoffs, right? So Wildcard are on the outside looking in. They were 6th when today's Playday commenced. And while they did have a great opening game, they lost 3 since then. They haven't found an overtime match yet either. Really 3 points is what Wildcard need here. Even a win in overtime is far below what they would like. Fury have a lot of power in this position to disrupt Wildcard's chances of redemption and being regarded as a top team here in APAC South like they once were, a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yep. I also really like this. It's the first time we're seeing the Lion on the attacker side. And I think it's because they've identified, Wildcard, while they're playing patient, they're also generally always going for a flank, or they're trying to get somebody into, I guess, a sneakier position to try and open something up towards the mid-late rounds. So the Lion can certainly help out with that. Or if they have a roamer that they need to shut down early, Lion can help out with that as well. So I think this is quite an interesting little pick here from Fury.
There's the first E1D to go out. For the last 4 rounds in a row, the opening kill has been converted into the round win. Like Colas has just found both opening kills. This surely is looking like a Fury round, but Wildcard, they are not done yet. They even up the man count halfway through the round, and nearly half the players in the server are cold on the ground.
Now, once again, Kitchen Dining, it's providing the goods in terms of the early frags. Round 10, Fury managed to win this one. Can they win it again to push us to OT? Again, this is where Wildcard are digging deep here, trying to play patient, not give anything extra to Fury. This Lion doing a great job, though, holding players in position. Milo was about to rotate. That nade could have been devastating to Wildcard's chances of holding on to this.
Oh, Vinny. Oh, Vinny. He gets the first one. Vinny for the double. It's just dark, and he goes down. Wildcard. They certainly broke a sweat, but they eventually break through Fury and take their second win of APAC South Stage 1. 7-5 over the bottom-rated team on the league. A sigh of relief.
Definitely a sigh of relief. That was a close one. Look, Fury was certainly in that right until the end. Even halfway through that round, a 3 versus 3, it felt like it was certainly winnable, but a really huge double kill play from Vinny. Put the nail in the coffin. Overall, a good game from Wildcard, but they were seriously challenged.
Absolutely. Definitely didn't expect that after the first 3 rounds. It looked like Wildcard were going to be cut and dried, the better team. It certainly didn't end up being cut and dried, but they proved it at the end of the day. A Wildcard that was pushed just about as hard as they have been so far, but they do get the 3 points, the much needed 3 points for their prospects of playoffs. Let's toss it back to the desk, and I'm sure the guys will have a lot to say.